Good day, brothers.
Good day.
Afternoon.
Happy
day.
Sunday.
Are we saying it Sunday? Is it Sunday today? Is that the day we're going with?
Yes.
I thought it was Saturday. No?
Well, it's whatever day we want it to be.
When
on.
you're
Today-
retired, wait, every day is Sunday.
Today I'm going to identify as Saturday. So
Yeah, I like that. That's very good. So it's my turn. It's my turn. And I have a topic for you. And I was reminiscing a little bit about public school and some high school stuff, just, thinking about some.
geez, very traumatic for you.
I know. It's mostly for the teachers.
That's true.
But I was thinking about that, and I know we've talked about best and worst previously, but I wanted to talk about best and worst teachers because I certainly have had a share of experiences myself related
Are we
to
gonna
that.
I'm
name
sure the
names?
teachers had some experiences.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's talk to teachers and say
Yeah.
best or worst students and see if Chad's name comes up.
They are
Oh,
not
it
gonna
definitely does. I think both of us got. We got the talking
you're a
to.
McCone. You're a
Well,
McCone
I mean,
boy.
Chad's brother.
Yeah, your stories might just be following
Yeah.
behind me.
They certainly were.
in school. So, anyways, that's my topic. I was just reminiscing about some of the crazy things that teachers used to be able to do that they can't do anymore, thank goodness. and vice versa with students, probably for that matter. But
Okay.
all right,
Let's
so
dive right into it.
let's dive in. So, anyways, I brought this up because, as you know, I was a troubled kid.
What?
You were not, Chad. You were just misunderstood.
Yes, I know.
You were just
I
misunderstood.
know.
I think they actually designated ADHD after you.
It should have had a C in it.
Chad actually helped create it, the diagnosis.
ADHC.
CHAD.
There's probably some of my old teachers that would.
We're joking with you, but I think
listen,
you were
I-
misunderstood in what you
Yes.
needed for support. That was all.
Yes, you know what? Back at that time, going back to like grade school.
Yes.
Grade 3 and 4, I definitely had a hard time concentrating,
Focusing, yeah.
Yes, and so squirrel.
Yeah.
And teachers really didn't know how to deal with that at the time, and
True.
So they would try random things that were inappropriate. What?
I'm just seeing if I get you distracted.
Oh yeah, it worked. It worked.
See?
It worked. So they
Hold
would
up
try
my
different
hand and
things,
you
and usually you would just act out because you didn't like what they were doing or whatever. And I've had a lot of interesting stories from, and just think about some of the things that have happened in public school. Just stuff that I saw teachers do, stuff that students did to teachers.
Oh, I can think of a
Chad
few
got
too.
beat up by Mr. Russell.
No, that's
Well,
not
he
true.
beat up a lot of students.
That's not true. Oh, Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you weren't using names, Wade.
Well, that's a
it's-
that's a pseudonym.
We called him Mr.
Just so everybody knows, every name we give today.
Yeah.
I thought it was Mr. Russell.
It's a pseudonym.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember what you're talking about with
With that guy.
yes, that guy formerly known as the pseudonym Mr. Russell.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember actually speaking of Mr. Russell, and that was, I think, I don't know which story you're talking about, but for me, one of the ones that comes to mind is
Did it involve his hand and your neck and
Yeah, something like that.
holding you against the wall?
I don't think it was Chad's neck.
No,
it
it
was
wasn't
someone
my
else,
neck.
though.
No, it was a fellow referred to as the acronym Jerry.
Okay. Sounds like sofa.
That's it. No,
And Jerry is in Gerald, as in Gerald Chad?
no,
Oh.
no.
Anyway,
No,
no
it-
names. Let's
yes,
be real.
yeah.
Let's be
No,
respectful.
I did see Mr. Russell get in a full-on fist fight with
a student?
With a student in either grade 7 or 8, I'm not sure, with one of the larger kids in the school. And we were all watching, and they were rolling around in the hallway, like throwing punches.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah, you don't see that anymore.
All the good old days.
No.
Yeah, when they had boundaries.
Who, the students or the teachers?
Well, when people knew that you
Both.
couldn't cross boundaries. Now it's a free-for-all in the schools. So
It's true.
which way is right? I'm not sure. But, well, I know. I shouldn't say that. I know clearly that was wrong, but he did. But yeah. Go ahead. You were talking about
Yeah,
that.
no,
so.
that's okay. I was just saying, I saw 2 fights of teachers and students. Bless you.
Bless you.
I saw 2 fights of teachers and students, that particular one we're talking about, and they were like full on rolling down the hallway with like a huge crowd around them.
Like, how bad does it have to get as a teacher where you're throwing hands at a student?
Well,
Well,
what's even worse is
disrespect,
the student was winning. And he was like in grade 7. You know?
Yeah, well,
That's
Beat up
unfortunate.
by
But how
someone
old-
who's 13. Like, Jesus.
but how old would that teacher have been? Like we think they were all old at the time, but how old do you think?
you know,
40s.
40s?
Yeah,
I
mean,
think 40s.
I think he had thinning hair.
I would say he was probably 40s. I mean, you know, when you're that young, you think everybody's older than
yeah,
they are.
but I thought he had thinning hair
probably.
back
He
then.
did.
He probably was around 40. Yeah. So I saw him.
He had
get
Bob
in-
Crossan hair.
Bob Cross
Well,
in here.
that's not,
What?
again, we're not going to name names, but you're right. He did.
No, but he did.
yeah.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, like just wispy, a bit, but kind of like like
Slicked back.
slick back, like brio cream.
I'll
Kind
tell you one thing. He didn't take jujitsu.
Got his
He
butt
was-
handed to him.
He did. Same.
Wasn't there a teacher next door to that same
Yeah.
teacher
Yes.
that taught
An
art?
art
St.
teacher?
Philip's Square.
That taught art?
Yes.
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 then
And
he-
I saw he's the second fight that I saw was with that teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Inside the classroom.
It
if I
sounds like
remember.
Mr. Phillips, but it's not.
No, it isn't.
Similar.
No, Mr. Phillips. Yes, I did see a fight with Mr. Phillips, and then I saw him put his hands on somebody else's throat.
Wow.
With the question that you were talking about.
Wow.
He was just a guy that, you know, it was funny. I remember it's so horrible because as a teacher now, I look back, and of course now my daughter's a teacher, and you know we have a different respect for it.
How many necks did she put her hand around?
Well, none, right?
Right.
Just not allowed to anymore.
Students doing it to her now.
Probably. Hopefully not. But anyways, he was always just, you know, he would ask everybody to be quiet, and you know, if you weren't being quiet, he would get out his chalk and he would write, you know, I was in class 7C, and so he'd write 7C, please be quiet, you know, on the board, and everybody would keep talking, and then he would write it again, bigger letters,
But
please
like
be quiet.
assertively.
Yes, assertively,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then it would be underlined if you were still talking, and then he's banging the chalk off I mean, nothing was working. And I remember this particular.
Surprising. I'm not quite sure why that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah,
Well, normally that's sound of
Writing on
the,
a chalkboard.
yeah, normally the sound of the chalk, like hitting it hard, makes everyone
Yeah.
just pay attention.
But anyways, this particular, I can't remember exactly what the reason was, but he kind of called him out and said something inappropriate, and he came over and he grabbed him, like put his hands right on his throat, and then the two of them were like, you know, wrestling in the class. It was pretty crazy.
And what's crazy though is those two teachers, they were there the next day, still teaching away.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing happened.
you probably as a teacher now, if you just said something inappropriate to a student, you wouldn't be back at school, let alone putting your hands on them.
Yeah, we've gone way the other direction now, unfortunately, where teachers have no.
It is too bad because
Authority.
I think they get taken advantage of.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But I'm also not condoning what
No.
Mr. Brussels and Mr.
Yes.
Phillips
Yes.
did to other people. So that was public school, right? Chad? That
Yeah,
was
grade
grade
seven.
7 and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have any examples from that time, and not any extreme like you do, but I think
Those are the worst.
I think probably the worst teacher was just from a standpoint of not recognizing the abilities of their students or treating them differently based on their preconceived assumptions. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
well-
So if you recall, I had an English teacher in high school. I think from grade 9 to 12, if you remember back then we had level 4, level 5.
Sure.
Now it's just OAC, whatever. We had OAC. Now it's just grade 12. But back then, I think I did from 9 to 12, level 4 for English. And then for my last year of grade 13, I thought I'll jump up to level 5 because I had to do that if I wanted to go to university.
Yep.
So I took level 5 English. And my first probably 2 months in that course, every assignment I did, I was getting 85, 90 on it.
This was level 5?
Yep. 85, 90, all my assignments, my essays, my tests. And she was like, oh, that's so awesome. You're doing so well. And I was like, I felt so good and proud of myself. And then she assigned the major essay for the year and was talking about the thesis. And I remember going to her and saying, I'm not sure what you mean by the thesis. Like, can you help me understand what you want here? And she said, well, you would have worked on this with so-and-so last year in Mr. and so-and-so's class. And I said, oh, I was in level 4 with this teacher.
Right.
And at that moment, she went, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. She explained everything to me. And from that point on, every assignment I handed in, I was getting 70s. And she would say to me when she handed it back, for someone who was in 4-1, you're really coming along.
So why do you think that the marks went down when
Because
she told
she
her?
thought, oh, he's not as smart.
So you think she was marking you lower even though you were doing the same work? Is that what
One
you're
hundred
saying?
percent. Because my marks were super high until that day that I told her I was in 4-1, and she literally went, "Oh," as if to say, "Oh, it all makes sense now." And then my marks went way down after that. And my friends in that same class saw it all happen. In fact, she would call another friend of mine up to the front of the class, handing out essays, and she'd be like, "Come on up." If it was you, "Come on up, Chad," and
Sure.
she'd be clapping. And
I don't think Chad ever got that.
No, I got called up to the front. But
But
it was
there
for
was
different
never any
reasons.
clapping.
but let's just
No, there was-
hypothetically say it was you. And
Yeah.
she'd be, "Come on up, Chad." She'd be clapping. And I'd look at my friend and say, "Oh, well, good for you." And he's like, "I guarantee you I got like 60." And sure enough, he would have like a 60. But she made this big deal. It was like she embarrassed people.
Well, I'll give you one. I don't know if it's worse than that, but it's exactly the same scenario. So starting grade 9, I went into level 5 math thinking I'd be okay in level 5, and I discovered after I got my first report card back.
You had to go back to level 2.
Well, I believe no,
Go back to Chad. Go back to JK.
no. I'm pretty sure I got 29%
Wow.
on
What?
my yeah. Seriously, it was unbelievable. Clearly not true, but anyways, I got that.
Surprised
So,
you got that high.
but the thing was about this.
It's called the bell curve.
Yeah. I guess they said give him something.
Anyways, this particular teacher who will remain nameless since we've decided
Sure.
we're doing nameless, his idea of making you work harder was to embarrass you. You were just talking about being embarrassed. And he knew that it was over my head. I just wasn't, I was not, it's funny because I'm good at math now, but at the time, I'm not visual. You say go up to the board and do it. It just doesn't.
Chad, was this Ingersoll or London?
Like, what grade are we talking?
This is grade 9.
So Ingersoll.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just trying to see if I knew the teacher. But
No, you don't.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyways, so he would just make a point of embarrassing you with the hopes that if he embarrassed you enough, you would finally pick up your socks and do a good job.
Yeah.
And so I'd be sitting there. He knows I got a 29 on my last report card, and he would say, "Okay, does anybody want to solve this one on the board?" And then, a bunch of hands goes up, and he'd be, "Chad." I'm like, "Come on, man!
Wow,
Like,
that's just so wrong.
so wrong."
Yeah.
And I'm like, pick someone else. No, come on, you can do it. And he knows I'm not going to be able to do it. And I go up and I stand there and I take the chalk in my hand. I'm just looking at the board for,
I can just
now
see
you think
it.
that's funny?
I do think it's funny.
Yeah. And,
It's dramatic is what it is. It defines you at that age.
well, that's exactly
Yeah.
what happened, right?
Wrong.
So you're totally embarrassed. So I'm sitting there. I got a chalk in my hand and I just sort of staring at the board. And he says, "Sit down." He knows I'm not going to do it.
Well, he just made you stand up there basically and look
To
like a
embarrass me.
loser.
Yeah,
That's so,
absolutely.
so bad.
It's so bad.
Shouldn't be a teacher.
No, but I mean that was at that time. That was the tools quote he had of how he thought he was going to get me to work harder was to embarrass me in front of the class.
See, that it honestly frustrates me because there are a lot of good teachers who should be teachers, and there's a lot
Absolutely.
who should never be teachers. And those are the ones that shouldn't be teachers because they, at that early part of your life, it defines you for many, many years about how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, you think you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
And then you're like, well, then why am I even coming? Why am I even trying?
absolutely. Yeah, I was never studious. I was always street smart more than book smart. If you ask me to read something and absorb it all, I have to go back and read the pages I already read because it just didn't absorb.
But maybe ever look at it this way, maybe because that teacher made you feel that way, maybe that made you actually become street smart because you realized I'm not going to find my way, academically. And maybe you told yourself some narrative in your head that you're not smart enough or something, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of weird in some way that maybe you then were like, I need to find my edge. And your edge was, I'm going to use my humor and my street smart to get by in life. And I think if you ask a lot of people now, I think they would choose to be maybe have some more street smarts than book smarts. Because I know a lot of book smart people that are very socially awkward.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I would rather
Can't navigate the world.
Yeah, I'd rather be street smart
Right.
than book smart.
I think
ideally
ultimately that's
get,
helped you,
You
I
get a
think.
little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I don't think in your case that drove me to doing that. I mean, bringing sense of humor in to maybe protect myself of feeling embarrassed, at that time, that could be. I don't think that it drove me to find another way to learn it. If anything, it just made me really hate school, which I think made it hard for me to stay focused.
Yeah.
Going into other grades and other classes because I was just waiting for the next big letdown.
I think the good teachers can actually do both. They can help you find your way academically and navigate the world, give you street smarts. Good teachers can do that.
Yeah.
The one teacher I have a couple that come to mind that were good for me. My music teacher, and I'll say his name because I think we should praise good teachers. Mr. McCumber was my music teacher in high school. And not because he was a great music teacher, but from a standpoint of the time he gave of himself,
Sure.
which you don't see a lot of today with teachers. Some teachers you do, but not all of them. But I remember having band practice, and we lived in Oak Ridge, and I went to Banting, so it was a good 20-minute bus ride away. And band practice was early morning before the buses were running, and I would walk out to the end of our street at like 6:30 in the morning, and he would drive by and pick me up at the corner and take me to band practice. That does not happen today. One, because they're not allowed to because of liability.
It'd be fear, liability.
School boards like, you can't do that. It's too high risk. And secondly, teachers just don't want to do that. But he would pick me up for band practice like twice a week in his own vehicle. And I never even realized at the time
that I wasn't going to band practice.
we band practiced at his house.
That's so funny.
We had band practice at his house.
All right, come on now.
Didn't everybody?
You had a nice sentiment about a teacher there.
I did it. He had to go and ruin
it.
He had to go and ruin
derailed.
it.
Yeah.
I even said his name. Now he's going to be arrested. No. It took many years for me to go, oh my God, like the amount of time he dedicated of himself to make that happen because he wanted me to go to band practice and knew that I couldn't get there otherwise. You don't realize that at the time that someone's doing that for you. And the other one is my wrestling coach. He was also my English teacher, Mr. John Murphy. If you guys remember.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, he had kind of like curly blondish sort of hair. Yeah.
But that guy, same thing. He would use his own station wagon, his 1970 something station wagon with wood paneling. He would take us all in that station wagon, all jumping in the back, no
How
seat
old
belts.
are you? Wait, Jesus.
I know.
I haven't even seen one of those things since like Vietnam.
Lieutenant Dang. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we'd all pile in the back of this station wagon and go to our wrestling tournaments. And he drove his own vehicle to make sure we could get there because he couldn't get a school bus or there was no budget, whatever. And again, you didn't even think about it at the time.
Right.
Until you get older and you say, that guy donated his time.
He went above and beyond. Yeah.
And he went above and beyond. And he made us feel important in English class and in wrestling, in coaching wrestling. I'll never forget that. Like that has stuck with me my whole life.
I don't know if I can think of. I definitely had some teachers, and I believe both these teachers are passed now. I think so. Bob Merrifield was one.
Yeah,
and so who was just a great, just a good human being and a great teacher and a positive role model for sure. I'd give him a shout out for sure. But where I was going to go was, and I'm pretty sure she passed some time ago. But did you ever have Miss Dennison for history or geography?
No,
I do remember she was VMS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember her. She was a bigger lady.
Yes, grade 7 or 8.
But yeah, she was very nice.
She was nice, except for the fact that to make you stop talking, she was the queen of whack you on the head with your textbook of whatever the course was that you were taking. So the number of times I had like spinal compression from seriously, you would be talking and this book would come from behind. She'd stand behind the desk. You wouldn't even know. I don't know how she could sneak up on you. But she would come down, and then the full weight of a geography
full on
text
on the top of your head,
top of that, and you would just go, oh,
wow!
Seriously, that happened to me.
Chad used to be 6'7".
That's right.
Yeah.
No, she definitely did that. I mean, you couldn't. Obviously, that's one of those things you couldn't do today.
But then
you have people like grab your ear or pinch your arm. Or
I had my ear for sure,
absolutely,
for sure, getting lined by my ear, absolutely. Yeah. That was at Harris Heights.
How about Mr. Ebel? He was at Harris Heights.
Yeah, I liked him.
He was a really good teacher.
I liked him.
Yeah. He was a bigger guy. Look, he should have been like a football player, but he was very down to earth and, it kind of got on the, the kids level, right? Made you feel like He was one of those teachers that kind of gave you autonomy, right? Let you sort of do things and make you feel like, hey,
Like learn by
you're now
example.
a senior in the school, so you felt like
Yeah.
you had this extra responsibility.
Well, that's how it should be.
Yeah, no, it was good. He was really good.
The other one that comes to mind, I think her name, if I recall, is Mrs. Fouts. She taught
Don't know that name. Was that Ingersoll or was that
London. She taught sociology, if I remember correctly. Yeah, sociology. And I remember not doing so well. I mean, just like you, Chad, in high school, I was wrestling. I was having fun.
Yep.
I did schoolwork, but I didn't care if I got super high marks. I just wanted to pass.
Yep. I was the same.
But I remember sociology doing an essay, and I think I handed it in. I just rushed on it. Didn't get a good mark. And she took the time to come up to me to say, "You can do so much better than this. I'm going to give you a chance to do it again."
That's happened to me a couple times.
And get a better mark.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking at the time, I don't want to do it again. But then remembering and thinking, she's allowing me to do this. She's telling me I have way more potential. Show me your potential, and I will mark it. And I'm not gonna penalize you if you do it again. And I did it again, and I got a really high mark. And I always remember that she gave me that chance because she said, you have more potential. That's a good teacher.
Yeah, I know there's been a couple times where I've been allowed to rewrite something because they just knew that, either I didn't put in the effort or could have done better. I can't remember the teachers' names, but at the time, like you said, you don't want to rewrite them, but it is an opportunity. So, good on them for doing that, I guess.
So what I really want from this podcast or even this discussion, I want teachers to recognize that now 40 years later, we can still recall those names of those teachers who were impactful in either a good way or a not so good way. And that still impacts our lives at this age. And teachers have to recognize that when they go into that profession, that you are influencing young minds.
Yeah, it's almost like a parent.
And it's going to be good or bad. And you have a choice as a teacher. Do you want them to remember you this way, in a really good way, 40 years later, or in the way that we remember people for putting someone up against the wall by their neck?
I mean, I think it's, I guess, as like any profession, do you retire from it and feel proud of what you've accomplished?
Right.
And I certainly can say I've had a lot of really good teachers, for sure. I remember my grade 1 teacher, Mrs. Nash. And
I remember her too.
I think she taught all of us.
She did teach all of us.
Yeah.
100%.
I apologize that you had to have her after.
No,
I did,
she
but
was
No,
great.
she was fine. I think you were too young at that age to really.
It was
get
about
into-
grade 3 where things started to go badly for us after you went.
Is
to
that
those
right? Yeah.
grades. Yeah.
What was that like, though? Because, if I think about...
It was horrible.
Mr. Little. Mr. Little.
We'll think about Mr. Little as an example, and I think he's long past now.
He is, yeah.
But, I probably wasn't the model citizen, maybe, in some of those classes.
He tormented me because of you.
And you had... Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I walked out of his class one day.
Yeah.
And I went home.
As soon as he saw McCone, he's like, "Oh, you're a McCone boy."
Yeah.
And that was
I
it.
was labeled.
That was it.
I feel sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it was bad.
I just want to take this time now to apologize to both of you for whatever happened as a result of what I might have done to that teacher.
But you know what, Chad? As much as that was wrong of him to do that, I think it does build character and resiliency. And look, we're okay. We're all fine, right? But yeah, he certainly labeled us based on our last name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've probably all done that in life, I suppose. Different times.
Just you.
No, I mean, we all knew a family that had a lot
for sure.
of bad people, and you say, "Oh, he's one of them." Oh,
For sure.
So, and I certainly wasn't in that category of quote the bad people. I just was not very studious, so I would talk and laugh and not focus a whole lot.
Well, the funny thing is, by today's standards of behavior in the classroom,
Yeah, you were probably a model
You
student.
were a golden child.
Seriously.
No,
I would get like
seriously.
5 gold stars today
You
just
would.
for what I was doing back
You would.
then.
You were
Yeah.
just a bit of a smart aleck, and you
I
liked
was.
to have fun.
I was smart.
The class clown. You wanted to be the class clown.
Yeah, I did.
But that was all
agree.
because you weren't understanding the topic, so you used
Yes.
your humor, and that's
Right.
Well,
that's coping.
that is true.
That's how you coped. But by today's standards, you were actually a good student. Like the behavior nowadays is
It's bad.
atrocious.
I actually feel really bad for teachers now because they probably have very little that they can do when people are acting out and saying they're probably spoken to inappropriately, and you would never dream of telling a teacher to F off or something like that. Back in school, it would never happen. But I bet you it happens now
A lot.
frequently.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Well, now teachers have to worry about a student bringing a gun in and like
Yeah.
gunning them down. Like it's actually,
That's
it's
pretty
kind of scary.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I sorry, wait, were you gonna say something?
I think I lost my point of view. So
I was just going back to I want to say it was grade 4, and at that time, in fairness, I did have a huge concentration issue, and like I said, squirrel. I just as soon as you started reading, I just would lose focus and I have to start over. But at that time in grade 4, in this little portable that I was in at that time, they didn't really know what to do with kids that just couldn't concentrate, or ADD as you called it, or whatever.
CHAD.
Yeah, had CHAD. And so I remember them putting a gigantic refrigerator box around my desk.
I remember that too.
Do you? Yeah. So literally,
A cardboard box.
yes.
Yep.
I'm not even kidding.
To separate him from the stimulation of others.
No, that's exactly what it was, because I
Talk
couldn't-
about embarrassing.
Did they do like the hockey helmet on you too?
no,
Or was it just
there was no helmet.
And he had the mouth gear, the dental headgear.
Yeah.
yeah, that's just give it all to me at once.
Did you get any dates at that time in your life?
I'm pretty sure I didn't in grade 4.
No. I know we're funny,
Yeah.
but that's horrific.
No, it is. It is horrific. By today's standards, people say, I can't believe a teacher would do that. But at that time, I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate. And they literally took this huge cardboard box, cut it off so that it was just like slightly taller than my head, and put it over top of my desk. And I mean, and also I remember the other kids laughing and stuff when she would do that, but it was the only way that I would not do anything but look forward, because I couldn't see anything but anybody beside me or behind me. But
Also, the front was open, just the side.
the front was open. Yeah. Well, she obviously pretty hard to get me to pay attention. If
You were just like, you had to
get
do
all 4
homework.
sides closed in.
No, I thought they were just like, you have to do this assignment.
No,
and put
it
a
was
thing
to
over your
just,
desk.
so he had no distractions.
Yes.
So like the
Perfect.
horse with the things.
Yeah, exactly. Like blinders. That's right.
But it just goes to show, because I remember that. And I remember mom and dad thinking, well, they must know what's best. So I guess we're going to try that. But it just goes to show that they didn't know how to handle that stuff back then. And who were they to tell?
You're a pioneer.
Yeah. You should be proud of your role in that.
Oh, wow.
No, but I feel bad for mom and dad, because they were just following the school's lead. But who are they to tell mom that was the way to go? It's just another person saying, well, let's just try putting a box around him and see if that works. But talking about humiliating.
Yeah. And plus Ritalin was probably expensive. So,
Well, they didn't even have
I don't think it was
diagnosis.
even there.
They didn't even diagnose ADHD back then.
they didn't, but they did have Ritalin and stuff like that.
They did?
They did?
Yeah, for sure. I was hooked on that stuff. It's awesome.
Just snorting it in the bathroom.
Crushing rhythm.
No
You
wonder
don't
you
have to worry
couldn't.
about cocaine. It was all Ritalin.
No wonder you couldn't focus.
No, I'm pretty sure that I had to take some Ritalin when I was young to,
really?
to focus.
I don't
yeah.
think that's the case.
No, I think it is. We'd have to ask mom and dad, but I'm pretty sure that I did take Ritalin. I was very young.
you know
though.
what? That's-
grade 3 or 4.
That's one thing I've never, ever known.
No, me either.
I never heard
Yeah.
that.
I think they were Smarties.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to confirm that with mom and
Yeah,
dad.
well, I'm almost positive that I did have to take that at one point, just around grade 3 or 4.
Well, here's the thing, Chad. You turned out beautifully. So,
I know.
You
I know.
it's all good.
Now, I mean, just look at me.
Right?
It's amazing what happened.
Right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Pioneer.
Can you be a little bit more genuine, Spence?
No,
Can you-
well, when you say look at me, I'm just like, when I'm not sure what I'm looking at.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at my gut from what I can.
Yeah, I know.
What I can tell.
Yeah.
But did you have any stories, Spence, that you remember specifically? Just like, I guess we'll call them horror stories. Did you ever get the strap?
No.
It's crazy that.
That's crazy that was even allowed.
It's crazy that.
Did you get the strap?
No, but I knew people that got the strap for sure.
I remember seeing the strap. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the worst I had was like a ruler smashed down on my hand.
I had that.
Like on my fingers. Because I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, never.
So
I don't think
crazy.
I ever even got called up to the principal's office. Well, I did actually when I ran out of Mr. Little's class because he wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. Because I think that's what you used to do. Always used to leave and say he had to go to the bathroom. So then it was like, then I'm not
I come
allowing
back
you to.
at period 8.
That's because he was snorting Ritalin in the bathroom.
Exactly.
That's right.
He had to go meet the dealer.
Selling it.
But yeah, I had to go, and he wouldn't let me go. And then I was just like, I'm not dealing with this. It happened like a couple days
Just
in a row.
meeting kids in the stalls to crushed up Ritalin.
I got Ritalin.
But yeah, I ran out and I went home, and then I got called to the principal's office.
I think I was called to the office a couple of times.
Yeah,
Probably because something Chad did.
yeah, for sure.
But
Probably.
They thought it was you, but then they realized it was Chad.
I did the worst thing that happened probably physically to me was getting. Do you remember the story of me getting kicked in the back by our French teacher?
What?
Oh, for yes, that guy.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes. I'm not saying his name just in case he's still around.
Vaguely, yes.
He kicked you in the back.
Yeah, he did. Now he, in fairness, he
You
intended.
deserved it.
No, well,
How do you say kicked in the back in French?
yes.
How you
I failed that
say
class, so I can't
in the
really
back.
tell you. I failed because I
He
got
didn't
kicked
have.
in.
He didn't have his fridge. You know,
His what?
you didn't have your refrigerator box, so you didn't
No,
pay attention.
no. In fairness, he was trying to kick my chair, but you remember, we had those chairs that had the round hole
Yeah.
in the back of the chair, and I was talking, and he probably told me to stop talking a couple times, and he came back behind me, and he was just trying to kick my chair to get the message across to stop talking, and his shoe went right through the hole in
Oh,
the
the
chair,
toe
and
of
it
the shoe.
kicked me right in the spine. Yeah, it was not good.
You add that to your spinal compression from the book on the top of the head. Wow,
I know.
it's amazing.
I was on Ritalin from then on. It was just ODing that stuff.
And OxyContin for the pain.
Yeah, that's right. The bad news is that public school started my OxyContin journey.
You could probably sue. You could make some money off
Yeah,
that.
you think I could still? I'd have to look for the bruises still.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the moral of this podcast is that teachers should get into the profession for the right reason.
Yes.
There's a lot that do it because they realize it's a really good paying job and it's a good pension, but that's not the reason to get into it.
I think you absolutely have to have a passion for it. And we're making fun of some of these things that happen, and there was probably worse stories than that at generation before us, right?
Absolutely.
But now, thankfully, that stuff doesn't happen. I think teachers do deserve a tremendous amount of credit.
Agreed.
Because it's got to be a very difficult job by today's standards.
a thankless job in many respects.
And I think you don't get the thanks until later when the students get to reflect on really how great that teacher was and how they shaped their life. And so it's probably they get paid off. Hopefully the students that realize that maybe they do come back and that those teachers know just how instrumental they were.
Well, when I was doing the last theater show in playing in the pit, the bass player knows Mr. McCumber because the bass player was also a music teacher.
Okay.
Around the same age. And he actually sees Mr. McCumber still. They actually go out, they have a group of guys that get together. And I said, next time you see him, please say hi for me. And I told him the story of him picking me up for band practice. And I said, please relay that. So he said, oh, I definitely will. And I hope he did, because I think teachers need to hear that stuff, because they probably had no idea that how small that little action was that had such a big impact on a student.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of teachers that deserve a lot of praise. So to all
the teachers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're one of those teachers, thank you for what you did to shape me, not including the shaping of the spine and the cervical section of my cervical neck. Well, sorry. No, isn't that what do you call the vertebrae?
The C-spine, the cervical.
That's cervical. Isn't that cervical spine?
Sure.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's what it is.
There's lumbar.
Yeah, there's lumbar. There's the T, the thoracic.
Yeah,
right.
and cervical. Yeah.
And cervical. So I was right. You were trying to make fun there, but I was actually correct.
Chad listened in
And
that class.
that's because of how studious I was.
Yes. Chad listened in anatomy. Yeah.
I actually didn't take anatomy. Although there was anatomy of dissecting the frogs and stuff. If you guys ever had to do that.
That was biology. That was biology.
Well, it was science, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, there's different.
There's different sciences. I know you don't know that, but
No,
there are
I know
different
that.
sciences.
But in public school, when you just go to science class, it's not biology that's more university or
high school. High school, they separated it out. Yeah. I did the frog thing in biology.
Yeah, public school is just the basics like earthworm and stuff. It's just your science class.
Public school is where you learn that your teachers don't know jujitsu.
Yeah.
That's right. That's probably how jujitsu was started, actually, because of
By a
that
teacher.
that class. Yeah.
Anyway, fellas, cool topic.
Yeah.
Nice
Just
little
thought
walk.
I'd relive some of that.
Yeah, nice little walk down memory lane.
Well, thank you for joining me for the walk. Thank you, Spencer,
Thank
for
you
making fun of my cardboard box and my Ritalin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No problem.
Wade, as always.
It's always what?
I don't know.
Just as always.
I was waiting for the I love you, but no, I guess
No,
it's not
there's-
going to come.
I do love you, Wade. So
I love you too, Chad.
thank you.
All right.
Anyway, love you guys too. Thanks for watching.
Bye.